Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome back to Ladyfloflo podcast, Beginner Competitors Corner. Today, I'm very excited. I have a special guest with me, and she has an amazing story. You don't want to miss this, okay? So we have today an ifbb pro, Amanda, with us. Say hello, Amanda.
Hey, guys. So glad to be here.
Awesome. So Amanda, let me give you a little intro about Amanda before we begin. So Amanda started competing in 2018, and she started in the bikini division. So it's just like during the pandemic, early 2020, she competed in the figure category. So to the King Kong. This is like a competition that happens in Ontario, Canada. And she won the Masters and the overall. Woot woot, congrats. And after that, in September 2021, so just recently, she went to the States. She has a special story about that. She went to the States, the US, and she competed in her first pro show at the Pro Qualifier North American. Not only did she win in her class, which is Masters, I'm just giving up your age, she won in the Open as well. So basically, Amanda earned 2 pro cards. How do you do that in one show, right? And so during her free time, she enjoys playing with her dog, Baylor, reading books, personal development. I tell you, you have to work on yourself, spirituality, and spending time with family and friends. Amanda, welcome to the podcast.
I'm really excited to be here. And I have to give the warning, I do have a dog, a small Shih Tzu, Baylor, who loves attention. So he might make an appearance here or there. So I apologize in advance.
That's fine. I have a little son and he comes in. He comes in and out all the time, right? So Amanda, before we begin, this is like, we're October, what date is it? October
10th?
10. And we just had the Olympia. And we were just chatting before, and amazing show. If you hadn't had a chance to check it out, go check it out. But before we start, I just want to say congratulations on your pro card, 2 pro cards.
Yeah.
And you did that like on your first show. That's an amazing accomplishment. So you should really be proud of yourself. How do you feel?
Honestly, I'm still a little bit in shock. It's kind of like, you always go into a show hoping for the best, hoping to win, but you never know who's going to show up. So at the end of the day, you can only ever bring your best. And I'm just really happy that on that day, my best was good enough. So I feel excited, still a little bit in shock, but definitely excited for the future.
Awesome. And it's great for us, for women who want to reach the next level and to see and to learn about your story. And we were just chatting and I was amazed. You have a connection with the Olympia, right? And the Sid Gillen, who won like 5-time figure. So yeah. What's your connection with the Olympia?
So Sydney's coach, Damien, also known on Instagram as the producer, he's been my coach since May of last year. So May of this year, sorry, time is an illusion. So he was the one that prepped me for my show, North American. So I've been working with him since May, and he's just awesome. He's truly like gifted at what he does. And I wasn't surprised that Sydney won her 5th because he's just that good in terms of like bringing in the shape that the judges are looking for. Not only the shape, but also like the conditioning level that the judges are looking for. So he really knows his craft. So yeah, so that's my connection to Sydney. We share the same coach.
Oh, who knows? Maybe one day we'll see you on that stage. But I'm curious, like, how did you find this coach, Damien? How did you link up with him? How did that happen?
The power of social media, I would say. I think like especially in the figure category, there's a lot of like different looks that different female athletes have. And I had like a look in my mind that I was aspiring for. So I kind of like worked backwards from that. So I went on Instagram and I found athletes, figure competitors that I really loved their shape. And one of them was Sydney's. I thought it was just beautiful, aesthetic. She was like a powerful, muscular ballerina. So then I worked backwards. Oh, I wonder who Sydney's coach is. And then I went to his team page, and then I went to his page, and I didn't do it right away, but it took me about a year to kind of like get the courage to like reach out to him and be like, hey, you know, I'm looking for a coach. And once I did, he like replied like within 48 hours and said, no problem, let's go.
Really?
And yeah.
You didn't have to qualify? Like he says, oh, let me give you a little test. And
no, that's what I thought too. And that's why it took me so long to reach out, because I thought he's such like one of the best coaches for figure like in the world. I thought there would be like an application process or something, but no, it was just it was like, okay, you want to work together? Okay, let's do this. And yeah, we haven't looked back.
Oh, wow. But tell me, Amanda, like, let's backtrack a little bit before you were figure, because sometimes some women want to go jump into figure, but sometimes you have to build to get to that division. So you started in bikini, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, what made you like switch divisions? Like, how did that happen? Why?
So I'll go back even further. So a little bit about myself. My entire family is like athletic. So I grew up doing track. I was a competitive figure skater for like 13 years of my life. I've done boxing. I've been in the gym since basically I was old enough to like ride a bicycle almost, right? So I've been putting on muscle at a very young age. But how I landed in bikini was because I didn't know anything about bodybuilding. And at the time, bikini was like the popular category with like the Angelicas and the Janets and the Jennifers. And when I looked on Instagram, I was like, wow, these physiques are just so like Barbies, like, you know, just beautiful, like silhouettes, the X frame. And I was like, I want that for myself. So I said, let me go into bikini. So in 2018, I did Coburg, and I won my class, and I won my class for masters, and then I also won the overall for masters. So then I thought,
and you
okay.
prepped, I'm sorry, Amanda, you prepped during the pandemic for this one, right?
Yes, I did. And it wasn't easy. So I bought at Costco, they had the Bowflex,
yeah,
that go up to like was like 52 pounds on each side. So basically I used those. I got a bench off of Amazon. I live in a condo. I'd go down to the basement garage and skip. I would do the stairs up and down.
I remember I used to watch you. Your Instagram stories.
So the moral of the story is, if there's a will, there's a way. Like, especially, you know, if you can, God forbid that we ever end up in another situation where we're locked down again. Like, if I had to, I could potentially prep for another competition in this way. I mean, it's not ideal, but if you really want something bad enough, you figure out strategies to kind of help you achieve that goal.
Then why did you like, what did the judge give you a feedback to say, like, you know, switch to figure category division, or is it something you want?
So it was kind of, it was both. It was both. So when I went to nationals in 2019, the head judge, he said to me, you're a Jaguar in the wrong category. So basically he's like, you're a Jaguar going at the wrong speed. So basically he's like, you have all of the tools that you need, the potential, but you're in the wrong category. And I was kind of thinking that for myself, because I was getting to the point where I had almost too much muscle for bikini. So I wasn't able to train in the gym anymore. I was basically just doing hours and hours of cardio. And so I wasn't getting the level of joy that I was, or I thought I could be getting if I was going to be able to train more fully in the gym and lift weights. So for me, that was the determining factor, was the fact that I wasn't enjoying my workouts as much. It was almost becoming like something I had to do as opposed to something I wanted to do. So yeah, it was the judge's feedback, but then also it was about where my passion for training kind of lies.
Yeah, because we get a lot of that. Some of the brown ladies, we're a little bit heavy on the legs, and if you go into bikini, you have to shave your legs, and so you're going against basically your genetics, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was it. I was, even now, interestingly enough, not that I'm like, I think my shape is more balanced or yeah, it's more aesthetically pleasing in figure than it was in bikini. But even at North Americans, when part of the judges' feedback was I have to bring up my upper body a little bit more to match my lower half. And I just think that's, again, like just years of like doing exercises that's focused on building my lower half. Like figure skating is predominantly like lower half track, boxing, you get all of your power from your legs. So over time, I've just naturally developed a very strong lower body, and I just need to get my upper body to kind of match up. But you're right. Like, it's so funny that you said that. Most of the women of color that I know have gotten the same feedback for the bikini category in terms of like the bottom half, like really kind of having to like diet down to nothing to get that bikini look.
I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I'm struggling. It's the last part, and it's the hardest part too.
Yeah, but it will come. It always comes. Well, just about when you're gonna give up, all of a sudden you wake up the next day and you're like, yeah, my legs are coming in. I see that glute ham tie-in.
I don't think I've ever seen it. I hope to see it this time. I have no choice, right? Yes. I hope to see it this time. But yeah, you have a great shape. I noticed during like your prep, like you made a lot of progress. Like, so what was the, like, you would say different between like prepping like amateur and prepping like for your national to qualify, your pro qualifier? What was different?
I mean, the main difference between the two was that I had a gym. That's all jokes aside. That's a really good question. And I think something that even I'm still trying to work through, and I know a lot of like beginners are trying to work through, is creating a workout split that is going to help you achieve that end goal, which is always, regardless of the category, minus wellness, because wellness is all about being like a little bit smaller on the top and bottom heavy. But most of the other categories are all about having like a balance between top and bottom. Ideally that X frame, so broader waist, broader shoulders, small waist, and then a little bit more leg development. So basically, one of the differences between being an amateur and a pro is making sure that every exercise that I'm doing is going to help me move towards that goal of creating that silhouette, creating that look. When I was an amateur, it was more just going to the gym and like, let's do some glute kickbacks, let's do, some hip thrusts, let's do a shoulder press. But now everything is much more, I would say, focused and targeted in terms of what I'm doing.
So you're very intentional about which body part you're training.
Correct.
Sorry, it's my big C.
Oh, no worries.
But that's awesome. So tell me, like, for you to reach like amateur to pro, like, what drives you? Like, what's your inspiration?
You're asking the really good questions. You've done this before, haven't you? Okay. That's a really good question. I would say part of it is that I've just always been competitive since I was like a small child. So I think being competitive is something that's just within me. I think the second thing is that I really love the process of watching myself be able to transform my body into something that I've envisioned in my mind, right? And I think it speaks like in the context of bodybuilding, it's beautiful, but in the context of our life, it's kind of beautiful as well, right? Taking the idea of like having a vision of where you would like to be in like 6 months, 9 months to a year, 5 years, and then doing the things that you need to do to actualize that vision. And I would say that would be like exactly what happened for my pro card. Like I had an idea of what I wanted to look like, and every day I made baby steps or tried to get 1% better to move towards that goal, and I achieved it. So I think what also motivates me, other than being competitive, is just I'm fascinated with like the ability for the mind to kind of like control the body. And I think that's best seen through like bodybuilding. So
I absolutely love your answer because I 100% agree. And it's amazing when you have that vision. Like I come from like, I had to do like a weight loss transformation, but I know in my head, like for years, it took me years. and I had this vision of how I wanted to look. And I'm getting excited. It's so fun bodybuilding that our body can really transform the way that we want it.
Yeah, it's true. It's crazy. It's a little crazy, eh?
Yes,
Yeah.
but that's what it is, right? But like you mentioned, the mental part. If you don't have that mental part first, the body will not cooperate. Like it all starts with the mental. So tell me about, because I know we talked about it, and I was curious. I'm just curious to know, like, what's your like morning rituals? Like, how do you prepare yourself mentally for that? Like, was it different? What did you have to do differently mentally from the amateur to that pro qualifier to earning a pro card to get there? Like, what is your preparation or rituals you have?
Yeah. So I think something that I've recently started to implement that I've seen a huge change in like the quality of my life is morning meditation. So every morning I'll wake up and I'll do like a 15 to 20 minute meditation in terms of like, not only for the day, but also for like the week or like 6 months. Every morning the meditation is different, right? So if I have something, for example, for work, like I have to do a big presentation or something, that morning I'll just basically meditate, you know, on how I would like the presentation to go, the response I would get from the audience, the feelings of calmness, you know, that I would want to have during that presentation, right? And then and when I was prepping for North Americans, it was like the same type of thing, but like, you know, me going on stage, being my version of Beyonce, like the judges, like warmly receiving, you know what I mean? Like having that, or even before that, like when I just started prep, like, because sometimes it's kind of hard, like, especially when calories get a little bit lower, like I would envision myself like following my meal plan at the end of the day saying, yes, you did it kind of thing. So every day the meditation would be slightly different based on what I would have going on in my life. But the one thing that was consistent would be meditation. And so then after I meditate, I get up, I have like 500 milliliters of water, some coffee, and then I'll go upstairs and do some walking just to kind of get my steps in for the day. So that's basically, and then come back and walk my dog Baylor. So yeah, so that's basically my daily routine.
I think like for me, it was absolutely like doing my morning rituals, and it varies. I have different tools that I use, but basically conquering the day from the get-go, from the morning, because bodybuilding it's like not, it's a 24-hour sport. So you have to set yourself to it. And I had a question. Oh yeah, when you said Beyonce, is that your alter ego name? Like, totally. Is that your personal person?
Sasha Fierce. Sasha Fierce is my alter ego. I've had it since I started competing in 2018. It's always been Beyonce. Even when I get my suits made and the designer asks me like, you know, what look you're going for, I always say I want to be like Beyonce on stage. And it's so funny because it always resonates with the suit designers. They always have that, okay.
I get it.
I get it.
Okay.
I know the look you're going for. So,
but yeah, it's true. It's good to have that little alter ego person. Mine is Serena. Yeah, Serena Williams. Like she's always been my body goals like forever. Yeah. And then when I was checking her, I was like, oh, I think I have Serena arms. So I was happy about that. But Amanda, I want to know something about like, who is like your inspiration in like your role models in bodybuilding? Who do you like aspire to? Who do you admire? Your favorite ones? Okay, who were your favorite Olympians to win?
So for sure, Sydney. I'm obsessed with her, just her whole overall package. Like I said before, right. To me, she just seems like a very like muscular Black ballerina on stage. She's just so graceful. I really do love my posing coach.
Yes.
Nicole. She's known as Zenobia on Instagram, and she's just like a phenomenal poser, and like also her physique is just beautiful. I'm also, interestingly enough, inspired by like strong Black female role models that are not necessarily in bodybuilding. So for example, Serena, even Venus Williams, obsessed with them in terms of just like how they were able to have such amazing accomplishments in a sport that wasn't really
Right.
like we never really saw ourselves in, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like our community.
Right.
So that and Beyonce. So I don't have a lot of like external role models, like other than the ones I've kind of mentioned. And I only look to them to more of like, like to get ideas of what I want for myself. I'm very much like an internally focused person, if that makes sense, in terms of like trying to like derive motivation from myself and like my past successes to kind of like fuel my future successes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you just, you can be inspired by other people, but you're molding your own, your own creation, whatever that may be. Yes, you are. So tell me, like, I know that a lot of us in amateur and a lot of us are thinking or would love to cross, the other line of one day. So what would you say, what biggest advice would you give a beginner or somebody who's thinking about bodybuilding or somebody, two advice, somebody who's thinking about going to bodybuilding, you want to compete, what would be that advice? And then the second question is, what about somebody who's amateur, but who wants to go to the next level? Like, be honest, like, what does it take? What do we need to do? Like, what would be the advice for beginner and amateur who wants to go to the next level?
I think I'll start off with something that comes to mind like immediately for me for both instances of someone who's interested and someone in joining bodybuilding and someone who's interested in becoming a pro. I'm not gonna understate this. Bodybuilding is a very time-consuming and very expensive sport. And also it does take away time from your family and friends and other things that you might have going on in your life. So before getting into it, I would kind of like take a step back and assess the reason why you want to do it. Is it because all of the people that you follow on Instagram are bodybuilders and like compete and you think it's cool? Or do you like going to the gym and you want to have a goal to work towards? So for me, that's how I really started, was that like I was already going to the gym consistently. My diet was like, I would say 80%, good. And, I'd have like 20%, but it was never ever really bad food. So I already had like a pretty good foundation to start with to go into the sport. And I think it made it easier for me to do that. So I would say not to discourage people, but kind of like take an assessment of like your reasons for wanting to compete, and then kind of taking stock of like where you are and like how many steps you need to make to be at a good like baseline to start a prep. Because if you're too far off, maybe it makes sense to kind of like take baby steps. And I think that's the other thing. Like, people are in such a rush to go on stage. The stage will always be there. You know what I mean? So even if it takes you like 2 years or 3 years to actually get to that goal, as long as you're slowly moving towards it, I think that is like the best approach. And then on top of that, taking stock of where you are mentally before you start a prep, or because, and I hate to bring this up, but it's kind of like the elephant in the room. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say the lot, there are quite a few competitors that develop eating disorders, and, go through other like mental health struggles, and not necessarily as a direct result of bodybuilding, but because they weren't really in a good place before they started their journey. So all of those things I would kind of like consider before starting your first, prep. But what I would say is that like, it's really changed my life in such a positive way in terms of like the community I've built, my life habits. Like, I didn't meditate before. I wasn't so aware of myself before I started bodybuilding. So I love it. And I encourage anyone who wants to try it to go for it. And I guess the second piece about like, if you want to turn pro, it's just what I said about the first piece, but times 3. Like, you've got to be that much more like mentally aware. You've got to be that much more disciplined in the gym. You've got to be that much more disciplined with your diet. And yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's another level, basically.
Yeah, it's another level to the same thing, basically.
And you know what? That's what I'm learning in life. And that's level to everything that we do, whatever it's fitness, whatever it's in your career, relationship, whatnot. Awesome. So, Amanda, I have a question for you. I know that you celebrated, I hope, did you celebrate when you won your pro card?
I don't know if you know Kai Kai cookies. Like look them on Instagram. Like it's a Toronto-based, they make gourmet cookies. And I bought like 12 of them before I left for Pittsburgh. And I told myself when I would come back, I would only eat like, one and then freeze it. Like they're all gone. So my celebration was like, and also it's hard because I'm in Ottawa right now, but most of my family is in Toronto. So we were only be able to really do like a Zoom and over the phone to kind of celebrate. So I haven't been able to go up there yet. I'm hoping to go home to Toronto for Christmas. So my celebration was not as big as you would imagine. No. Okay. But one of the pro shows that is coming up, if not this year, next year, is going to be in Toronto. So definitely after that pro show, I will be doing a huge celebration. So
nice. So you're not doing the Toronto pro show?
I'm not sure yet. I mean, what are we? October 10th. It's 8 weeks away.
Yeah.
So there is still time, but it goes back to what I was saying before. Like you got to make sure that you're in the best place possible mentally. And, maybe I want to take a year off. I haven't decided yet, but.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's next. Like, so next, what's next? Like looking at next shows for next year?
Yeah. So it's weird. I don't know if for the amateur stream, the calendars come out yet for 2022.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. It's the same thing for IFBB. We don't know yet. So I'm hoping to do either a show in Toronto or in Vancouver. And there was also a pro show in Niagara Falls. If the stars align, maybe I'll do all three of those shows, one of those shows. I don't know, but I need to see the calendar.
But now you're allowed to compete in the US, can you?
Yes, yeah, I can compete in the US, and I definitely want to. I actually can compete like internationally. In my bucket list, I would really like to do a pro show in Japan. I don't know why. Because I thought, I could match, like I could join traveling with like to a country that I've always wanted to visit with competing would be like super cool opportunity. And so maybe I'll do that in 2022. I don't know.
You would love Japan. Is one of my favorite places that I visited. So yeah, you would love it. So they're the nicest people over there. And you'll definitely get a lot of attention, trust me.
We'll chat offline. I'm going to pick your brain in terms of like your favorite places that you visited while you were there.
Yes, and I have a friend there too. So maybe I can link you up with her. Yeah, she's really nice. But anyhow, that's really awesome. So before we part, Amanda, do you have last words you want to share?
Well, first off, just thanks so much for the chance to come on and connect with you and to tell my story. I was so
amazing story.
When you sent me a message, I was like, really? Yeah, so I guess what I would want to share, because I don't know if your audience is just bodybuilders or people who are on different types of journeys or
yeah, every the spectrum is full.
The spectrum is full. So one thing I always like to impart is that like the world is like sometimes like pretty chaotic, especially with like social media and Instagram and Twitter. And like sometimes you can kind of get disconnected from your own passions or the things that kind of like, not to sound like lame, but like make your heart sing. So what I would say is if you can, and if you have the desire to kind of like take a moment and to like sit back and reflect on the things that the journeys or the adventures that you want to take in your life and kind of like figure out a way to move towards those things. Because, and I know it might sound like obvious, but I find that in this world, sometimes we can forget that. Like we get so stuck with like the day-to-day and like the mundane tasks, and like we forget to find the things or to assess the things that bring us joy in our lives. And bodybuilding has brought me so much joy and so much fulfillment. And I think, and I hope that your audience, whatever their journey is, has something that gets them excited and wakes them up with excitement every morning, just like bodybuilding does for me. So that was kind of rambly, but hopefully you get what I was trying to say.
Yes, I did. And where can we find you? Can we follow your journey?
Yeah, so I'm not huge on Instagram. I'm definitely working on, but my account is AFIT, so AFIT, Elliott, ELLIOTT. And if you're interested in following my journey, add me and I'll add you back.
Perfect. I'm going to put it in the bottom for people to see. But thank you so much, Amanda. It was such a pleasure to have you, and your story as well. Amazing story. Like, you guys don't know how rare that is to earn your 2 pro cards, not 1. 2. Let's see your dog.
Where's my trophies?
Oh,
I got 2 of them. Yeah.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah. And then also my dog. Oh wait, you want to make an appearance? No, he's like, I don't want it. No showtime today. He's like over it.
I see it, Amanda. I think you have a really, really bright future ahead of you as a pro. And then I look forward to following you and rooting for you. So we're both ladies from Ottawa. Woo! And that's what I tell people, that the camaraderie in the sport, right? Like, you don't have to, yes, it's a selfish sport and you compete, but there's still like that community base. And that's one of the things that I love about bodybuilding.
And I'm rooting for you too. And we need to get in a workout together. Like,
yes, I'm gonna come to your gym.
I'm excited.
Okay, let's do it for sure. Thank you, Amanda.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, guys.